Hello, my name is Dennis Platts, and this is assignment 1 of ETL 686 Instructional Design. And I'm speaking today about the Dick and Carey model and how it applies in a typical high school mathematics classroom. And I have customized, as the abstract states, I have customized my experience to fit the California state standards and the Sacramento City Unified School District standards, simply because that's the frame of reference that I have for teaching. And also, if I wanted to make this exercise very applicable to my craft right now, and so that's what I based it around, and I think that it came out quite well. So, at any rate, I just want a little bit start off with a bit of overview of the Dick and Carey instructional model and how it might go ahead and apply in the standard mathematics classroom. And I think something that we all do as educators is we basically start off with a list of students, and we, especially in the public sector, and we start off with, well, where are our students at? And from there, we have this group of people, and we know that we have to move them through a system or a class that is in with a goal in mind. And within that large goal of completing the course, there's a bunch of small goals that they have to achieve in order to get there. And so, one thing that I like about the Dick and Carey model is that I feel that it's very structured, and it's good for even a seasoned educator to go back to look at and hone the way that they think about setting up the class for the year, in the way that they gather information and make their class ultimately more of an interesting and effective thing for the students to partake in. And so basically, we start here at the analysis phase, where our students, and we take them through this during the course of a section or year, and we end up right back at the analysis. And so, what I'm going to go ahead and do again is start with some of the things and how a discussion about how things to consider within each one of these steps: analysis, design, develop, implement, and evaluate, and the way that I've seen them in the years, and putting all the pieces all together. So, um, where do we start? And basically, the question that spoke to me is, who are my students? And one of the things, especially in a very skill-driven subject matter such as mathematics, is that we have to know the student's skill set coming in, again, because it's skill-based, and if they don't have the skills, mathematics is like a house. If you don't have the foundation of the house, you can't build on it. So basic skills to be successful in the class, such as what is their their background in just numbers, arithmetic. Are they have those foundational blocks to carry out the higher end things that they're expected in the class? And so one of the ways that we can look at that is just doing diagnostics right at the beginning of the year, seeing where they're at. Really informal type assessments and seeing what they struggle with. Other things that we can consider, especially in the public class room, is this, like, did they complete their prerequisites? Is that did they pass the class in front of it with a high enough grade that they're going to be okay in this class? Um, State restrictions. Unfortunately, in high school in California, every ninth grader takes algebra, and so we kind of have to, even though they are in algebra, it's not necessarily that they got these prerequisites under the way, because it's not, they, in middle school, they just basically have to go through middle school, and if they fail middle school mathematics, they're still going in algebra no matter what in high school. And so that's something that we need to go ahead and consider, especially in the getting some diagnostics about where they're at, and the prerequisites. Again, it could be a little misleading because they don't have to have them to go into algebra. Um, do the students have any developmental challenges? Are they on IEPs? Do they have 504s? That kind of stuff. And the students' access to materials and technology. Of course, by law, they all have to have books. However, the technology, if you're going to employ technology in the course, what is the students' demographics, and are they able to go ahead and have a reasonable access to the technology? So I think that's all very, very important stuff to consider when you're building on the course. Okay, so where do I want the students to go after I find out who they are and who am I trying to educate? So the considerations in public schools, we kind of have to apply with the state adopted objectives. But it's the onus of the teacher or the instructor to develop a curriculum to guide the students to those objectives. So basically where we want them to go is already predestined, at least in California, with all the state standards. However, again, our creativity, or the reason why we do what we do, is that as instructors we get them to those standards in a multitude of different ways. And we also have to consider, as I discussed in the last slide, for maybe some of the levels of learning disabled or and whatnot, objectives may vary, especially when it goes to the testing part of the course with the special ed. Depending on where their the spectrum is at, their standards could be in a modified curriculum a little bit different than your standard student. So, what materials to choose when you want to achieve these instructional goals? And so, one of the things that we have to have is this, like, what is your game plan? How are you going to get the students there after you know who they are and where you want them to go? What's the game plan? And so one of the main things, especially in mathematics, is pacing. You want to make sure that you get everything in, so when they go on to the next course, that they're ready for that as well. Again, mathematics is a building process, so pacing, if you leave parts out, then those parts are going to go ahead and show up, that were left out are going to show up in the next course. And basically the rest of it comes down to mixing the instructor vision with the state mandated materials. Some materials in the especially in the public classroom, you have to go ahead and use. It's department policy. And so such as benchmark testing, common assessments, that kind of thing. And what the instructor is control of is choosing the correct challenge level on the analysis and design stage. If the department is functioning properly, they will have different levels of testing and materials that are going to go ahead and speak to the students. If they are very high level students, and your standard student, and your lower end or your struggling student. And also during this, while you're going through this cycle of the ADDIE, as Dick and Carey goes ahead and names it, the going back and differentiating and reteaching. Once you gather that information, that of course is the onus of the instructor as well. So the game plan comes back to what you're in control of. Well, you got to go, if the one class is great with the material, super, you go on. If not, you got to go ahead and think of a different way to a different game plan, and so the students are able to meet the goals. And then the appropriate technology, that is that does the technology make the learning objective easier for the students? Does it make it more interesting for the student, make it easier for the student to achieve the goal, rather than just being technology in a course? So that's most of the things that I consider when coming up with the game plan. implementation. How am I going to go ahead and put it all together? So once you have all these things, who are my students? Where do I want them to go? How do I want to go ahead and do it? And then how am I going to deliver the material? That is that I have this game plan. Okay, how am I going to implement the game plan? And one of the things that we have to consider, especially when I teach online versus when I teach in the local classroom, is how are you going to go ahead and set that up? And I know that the troika of classes that we have just taken focused on the digital classroom, but this model again really focuses as well equally on the local classroom, and and whether you're in either one of these, I think that these are going to go ahead and and be pinnacle to to the delivery of the student to the delivery of the material. So lessons that speak to the learning modalities. That is that when you have your kinesthetic, your auditory, and your visual learners, no matter again local classroom, digital classroom, that has to be present. Making sure that that you are presenting material in a multitude of different ways, such as group-based learning, giving the students opportunities to work with one another, project-based learning. Are they going to go ahead and take the information and build something larger or new with it? A great way to move up Bloom's taxonomy. Discovery learning. Discovery learning is, again, something where they don't really know the objective, but they discover it through basically observing patterns, and they get to go ahead and come to the conclusion themselves. And WebQuest, of course, WebQuest is going to be something that can be in a hybrid course with the local and digital classroom, but I think that can be applied to everything up here. I mean, WebQuests are a very flexible tool, and so in a great way to deliver the game plan. So, evaluation. Did the course complete its objectives? And and that's something that is tough for some educators, and a lot of educators, especially seasoned ones, kind of skip this step, even though it's the most crucial to sustaining your craft. So one of the things that we do is that we look at the institutionalized results. That is that when we go to when we got CST results, or we got AP testing results, or any of those things that come back from the state, or from your own formative or formative or formed assessments. You look at the actual letter grade, you sit down with statistics, and you say, well, what went right, what went wrong, and then if you work in a department that is high functioning, you share that material out, and so. But basically, for your particular course, you get to look at those numbers, you get to look at those tests and say, well, did I get them to those learning objectives that I started off with at the analysis phase? And then also within, not only at the end of the class, but at the end of lessons and in smaller chunks per se, assessments that are going to go ahead and um, and and guide the students through the course, and the teachers in their instruction are going to be the little informal type assessments that you want to go ahead and maybe start with a lesson. You can start with the analysis part, and it could be within a lesson that you work the way through the ADDIE circle. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the course. It could be at the end of a lesson, at the end of a section, a chapter, etc., etc. So, and what you do is that you put all the information back together, and then you start the refining process once more. And so, that is basically my take on the ADDIE model, as Dick and Carey uses, and that's the way that I use that, and plan to sharpen and refine my process in my classroom in Sacramento. So, thank you.